Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Boba Heist, which is a self-published title. It's for 2 to 5 players, or Boba Shakers, ages 12 and up, and games generally run about 15 to 30 minutes. Boba Heist is a race to become the next Boba Mastermind, and stopping your fellow players, Shakers, from beating you to it. You need to shake more Boba Teas than your fellow Shakers, but your fellow Shakers will try to stop you by playing various action cards that steal cards or your completed Bobas. Your goal is to match the ingredients from your hand of cards to the required ingredients on each Boba Tea card. The first Shaker or player to 12 points wins. And beware of the Boba pandemic. Suddenly your world is out of Bobas. If you flip the card from the bank to refill the menu, you will lose all Boba Teas in front of you. But don't worry, keep calm and keep on playing. So gameplay here is very straightforward, but there is a variant that we'll talk about. Now you have 2 main decks of cards. You have the draw pile, where our players will be getting all their cards from, and you have the Boba Tea cards. This is where you'll be creating the menu of Bobas that you're trying to fulfill. Now, you're going to have to get ingredients, and you'll see on the Boba Tea cards, there are different types of ingredients that they all require. And there's a point value in the top left corner because you need 12 points to win the game, or you could extend that to 15 and make the game a little bit more challenging. And at the start of the game, each player is going to receive 7 cards from the draw pile. Now, there's 2 different types of cards here. You have action cards, which we'll take a closer look at, and you have ingredient cards. Now, the ingredients are what you're all about. You're trying to get the right ingredients to fulfill the Bobas that are out on the table, trying to get those higher point valued ones for sure. But beware, because others can steal them from you through the course of the game. So on your turn, it's very straightforward. You're just going to be drawing 2 cards from the draw pile, and then you have a couple options. You can 1, play an action card, and 2, shake a Boba, and you can do this in any order you see fit. Now, if you choose to shake a Boba, you're gonna have to have the right set of ingredients in your hand. Now, there's all kinds of different ingredients, and I just have to point out how cute and fun the different artwork is on these cards. I absolutely love it. But the different types of ingredients you do, for one, have a wild, which can be used for any ingredient that you see fit. You got things like pudding, you've got passion fruit, you've got burnt caramel boba, you've got jasmine green tea, and so many others, pink boba. So these cards are going to come into play as you try to fulfill the different Bobas that are out in the menu. You can play these cards to acquire one of these. You have to play the right ingredients, obviously. If you do, you'll discard those and you'll take the Boba that you fulfilled and put it in front of you. But after you place that completed Boba in front of you, well, then you have to go back to the menu row and replace the card that you took. But this does become a bit of a push your luck, because within the Boba deck are 2 Boba pandemic cards. These will cause you to lose all your completed Bobas that are in front of you. But the game still continues, and you can still get more cards and more ingredients, but you will lose what you've worked on so hard to gain. So that is something to be aware of, but you do always have to replace the cards that you've taken from the menu row. And you can also play an action card on your turn. Now, these action cards are going to do all kinds of different things, benefiting you, messing with your fellow players, but the game moves pretty quick, and cards are going to be changing hands frequently. So let's take a look at some of these. You've got change the menu, where you can replace the menu out on the table. You've got draw 3 cards, and a lot of these cards are going to have like a stipulation at the bottom. Like this one in particular, you have to have 7 cards or less in hand in order to play this card. And then you can steal a card from a fellow player. You can also discard a Boba Tea, which is very handy at times, trying to stop someone from getting those 12 points. And you can steal Boba Tea cards. There's a couple different ways to do this, and there are 2 different types of cards for it. Now, you can also swap a deck. The cards that you have in hand, you can swap with someone else. And you can take a peek at someone else's hand of cards, and you can pause someone, basically causing them to skip a turn, so to say, where they cannot go after a Boba Tea card that's out on the table. They can't play the ingredients just for that particular round, but they could still play action cards. Now, there's also view deck, and of course, as you'd expect through the course of the game, there are ways to stop your fellow players or your fellow Shakers from messing with you and your cards. So you've got no way and maybe not. These cards are block cards. You're going to be using them frequently. Definitely hold on to them and use them in crucial situations. Then at the end of your turn, you're going to check to see how many cards you have in hand. If you have more than 10, you really should discard, because if you get called out on having more than 10, well, then you're going to lose a bunch of cards. You're basically going to keep 5. It's going to be random which ones you keep, but it is a huge penalty for sure. Now, also, there's a variant in the game. There's a poker variant. So when you go to fulfill a boba or shake a boba, you'll play your ingredient cards face down. And you'll wait to see from anyone. Are they going to call you out? Are you bluffing? Are you telling the truth? Well, if no one calls you out, then you just fulfill that card and put it in front of you. You'll still reveal what card you played, regardless if you had the right ingredients or not. Now, if someone calls you out and you flip your cards and you do have the right ingredients and they called you out, well, then you get to take their highest boba that they've completed. And if they don't have one, then you're going to take 2 cards from their hand. But if you revealed your cards and you did not have the right ingredients and you were called out on it, well, then you're going to be losing all those cards that you played. Plus, you're going to be losing 2 cards from your hand to your opponent. So that poker variant does add an interesting twist to the game, but it just gives you a couple different ways to play. And again, your ultimate goal here is to get 12 points, be the ultimate Boba Mastermind. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview. And everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this game is super fast-paced, and I can't stress enough just how adorably cute all these cards and all the artwork is. It definitely adds a fun flavor to the game, and like I said, because it's so fast-paced with all the different action cards, you'll see that cards change hands quite frequently. There's a lot of back and forth, but don't forget you do have ways to block your opponents. But folks, ultimately, if this is like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.